Hi guys, this is Sunita Pattani, psychotherapist and energy psychology practitioner. And in this video today, I really want to talk to you about what I think or what I feel healing looks like in real time. I think that we live in a society generally where we're very used to instant gratification. So we're very used to, that I have this issue and, I want to get it sorted. And what's the quickest way that I can sort this issue? Guys, I think I've probably worked with over 1,000 clients to date so far. And I've worked with some pretty heavy traumatic issues with clients. So bipolar, PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. I've done all sorts of work with binge eating, depression, and a lot of anxiety. And what I've noticed is that healing really is a journey. It really is a journey. And what I also think is that talk therapy, traditional talk therapy, I think is really important, and it definitely has its place, especially when we're dealing with topics such as bereavement, or when we're beginning to build rapport and build trust with a client. But actually what I think, at least in my opinion, I think that the energy psychology and the belief system work is absolutely key, because I think that a lot of the way that we live life, even a lot of the diseases that we end up with, are quite often the result of belief systems that we actually hold about ourselves. So for me, that one of the most important things about healing is really beginning to understand what core belief systems people are holding. And usually, in my experience, people usually hold one or two core belief systems. So for example, I've recently been working with somebody who, we recognized very quickly that the core belief system that she was holding was that she was actually afraid to be alive. So she was afraid of dying, she was afraid to be alive. So what was happening was, every time she was going to sleep, she wasn't actually able to sleep properly because all of the traumas that she'd had regarding death, would still be playing in real time. You may have heard in a previous video that I discussed the concept of echoes, which is an energetic consciousness hologram. So this is the idea that when we have a trauma, there's actually a part of us that freezes in that moment. And, that echo really stays alive. So if you had a trauma at the age of 7, which was unresolved, there's a part of you that actually remains, that 7-year-old, that's pretty alive. So it's not until we bring that trauma full circle will that belief system actually begin to resolve. And this is really how, when I'm faced with clients with, for example, insomnia, this is really how I go about working towards facilitating healing with them. That what belief system are they actually holding that is stopping them from, achieving a good night's sleep? So yes, there are like the physical components. So, making sure that they're having no caffeine, for example, or making sure that they're taking a warm shower before bed, not using electronics or having electronics near their bedside, that sort of thing. But ultimately, a lot of it does, for me, come down to belief systems. So, okay, so that's a little bit about belief systems, but what does the healing process actually look like? So, some time ago, what I recognized was that healing seemed to take the form of 4 steps. At least for me at that time, it was 4 steps. So, those 4 steps were that initially a client would come in and we would engage in some exploration and awareness. So this is really when, I would talk to the client, become very aware of where the client was holding issues. And as my therapy developed, as my therapeutic practice developed, I also recognized that, doing the belief system work and adding the energy psychology would also come into this phase. So, we're doing all the preparation work that's actually required for the client to have the shift. okay? And then I noticed that the client quite often needed some processing time. So this is really where the client was having to, effectively do nothing, really wait for the healing to happen. So this processing would happen during the time that they'd sleep, or even during times where they were doing completely, unrelated therapy stuff, okay? And then slowly we'd notice that they'd all of a sudden have what we call like the actual healing, so the aha moment, so to speak, followed by, how to actually integrate that healing into their life. So for example, if we're looking at binge eating, so we would look at, we would discuss binge eating, we would become very aware of what was happening with that client with binge eating, we would do the belief system work, we would do everything that we could to try and propel that healing. We would then allow time for the client to actually process that healing. Okay, and then eventually we would have the healing actually happen. So, and it's very unconscious, it's not necessarily that, oh, here it is, the healing's happened. Sometimes it can be a gradual process and the client suddenly realizes that they've changed. They're not the same person that they were when they first started therapy. And then it's about integrating that change into life. So how do they actually move forward, integrating that change into their everyday life? And it wasn't until sometime later, actually, that I started working with Amit, did I realize that this process that I'd actually been using in therapy, or this process that I'd come to understand in my therapeutic practice, was actually a creative process that was created by Wallace in 1926. And, as I got talking to Amit and as we, developed and we worked on the creativity process, he also added in, another kind of sub stage to that. So, just to summarize for you what it would look like would be the first stage would be the preparation phase, which is what I've said, that, the intention, the exploration, the belief system work. The second stage would be the processing stage, which is also called the incubation stage. And then Amit had sort of added in a third phase, which is really, it's the time where you're doing, which is the phase 1, and you're being, which is phase 2. So you'd alternate between preparation and incubation, doing the therapeutic work and then allowing the processing time. And then after that, what would happen would be what we call the aha moment, really, which is when the healing occurs, followed by what we call the manifestation or the integration. So, really bringing this into your life, really integrating this change into your life. So, whilst it's true that there have been some cases that I have worked with where the aha moments that have come along very quickly, it's like we do the belief system work and the client just has aha moment after aha moment. I mean, we experience this quite a lot when we actually train EFT, the levels 1 and 2 practitioner training, because, there's a group, there's a whole collective consciousness, there's some great energy going, and the person really does have like revelation after revelation. But a lot of the time I find that it's a collection of smaller aha moments that people have that eventually pave the way forward for their own journey for transformation. So I think it's a very beautiful journey, and I think that if there's one thing that I could say to you guys watching this video, it would be that keep going. Even if there are obstacles, even if you think your journey's taking a long time, keep on going, because it will come together in the end, and it does come together in the end. So I hope you enjoyed my little take on what I think healing actually looks like, and hopefully I will get to meet you soon. Thank you.